What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Odd Popcorn for that video. I'm Chris,
I'm Nick.
and we're doing something a little bit different this time. So, not exactly a review. We're going to rattle off all the movies we watched through the month of March that we didn't make full videos about. And just kind of briefly, no spoilers or anything, just talk about if we liked them, if we don't, if we recommend them or not, a little bit here and there. Before we get into that, though, we want to remind you guys if you like what we're doing, the best way to let us know that you like what we're doing is to hit like below. And if you want to see more stuff like this, you can hit subscribe for more videos like this. I'm doing them every week. So this is our what we watched in March. So you want to kick us off? What was the first thing you watched?
The first thing I watched was a movie called This Is Where I Leave You, which it has an all-star cast, and like I had never seen it. It was on TV one day. And I threw it on, but it's got like Jason Bateman, Tina Fey, Jane Fonda, Adam Driver, Rose Byrne, Corey Stoll, Katherine Hahn, Connie Britton, Timothy Olyphant. All-star
Crazy
cast.
cast.
Yeah, Ben
Mm-hmm.
Schwartz, Stack Shepard. I liked the movie quite a bit, man. It was like it's about a group of siblings. Their father passes away, and he wanted them to sit shiva for them, even though like they didn't really embrace like Judaism and like go to temple or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like the siblings meeting back up and everything. And but it was a good movie, man. I liked it.
A cast like that, it's hard to imagine it being, like terrible anyway.
Yeah,
But it is funny that you don't hear a lot of talk about that movie for sure.
dude, it's A-list celebrities, like a bunch of them, and then I'd never heard of this movie at all.
So you'd recommend that one though?
Yeah, for sure.
My first one's easy because I've seen it before, but on the off chance that you haven't, I kicked the month off with Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by the Daniels. And I can't say enough about this movie. If you haven't seen it, just go watch this thing because it's almost like indescribable. And there's a reason it just swept the Oscars in 2022. So yeah, if you're one of the few that hasn't seen this yet, I highly recommend checking that out. But I don't have a whole lot to add that's unique. People have talked about this movie
Right.
ad nauseum. So yeah, definitely check that out.
The next one's an older one with Sean Penn and Tim Robbins called Mystic River, which I'm sure a ton of people have seen, but I'd never seen it. But man, it starts off pretty intense. Kevin Bacon too, and Lawrence Fishburne. But it starts off really intense, and like Sean Penn's daughter goes missing, finds she's murdered, and it's like who done it type of thing, and three best friends kind of getting
Well, and
back
that's a
together.
that's
Slightly.
a classic example of just an emotional gut punch of a movie
Yeah.
for sure. Like that movie will upset you a little bit, but it is
Yeah.
a solid movie. Who was it that directed that again? Do you remember?
Oh no, it's Clint Eastwood. Yeah,
Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely one of the better Clint Eastwood directed films, I think.
pretty intense.
I,
Yeah.
I need to give that a rewatch. I haven't seen that in a long time. It's just one of those that like I remember it being a pretty harrowing watch, and it's like
Yeah.
it gets pretty hardcore, and yeah, I haven't revisited that since. But
Oh yeah, I think it would probably hold up because it was for me as well. And I had never seen it, but yeah.
I've got a real weird one for the next one, and I've got other weird ones coming, man. But I wanted to check out some bizarre stuff that I've heard about in the past. So the first one I checked out was Daisies, which is like a 1966, 1967 Czechoslovakian surrealist psychological drama.
Okay.
And it is certainly surreal, and I had to really put myself in a certain mindset for this. It's kind of like a feminist, I don't know about propaganda, but it was kind of like in opposition to the Communist Party and like male chauvinism and the bourgeois and the rich people that don't care about anybody. And it fits nicely in like the current landscape where everybody's talking about the rich getting richer and the 1% and all this stuff. And it is very specifically like about feminism of its time period, but I think it holds up. It's just that the delivery of it is so bizarre and like nothing I've ever seen before that I don't know how many people are going to have the patience to sit through this whole thing. It is really, really stylistically odd. And I get what it's going for. It's supposed to be, it kind of upturning that whole idea of like women should be proper and polite and have very good manners and stuff like that. And in this, they're just sloppy messes and they're eating food really grossly and they're destroying everything around them. It's a bizarre little movie. I think talking about it and reading about it is more interesting than watching it for me. I hate to say, it really was a stretch, and like it's very overdubbed with this really loud. Their dialogue is really mixed loud in the mix, and I don't know. It was a hard one. I get why it's important, but hard to recommend. So I guess your mileage may vary on that one.
And the next one I watched was definitely an older movie too, but One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest I had never seen, and I wanted to watch that, and it was leaving Netflix, so I had to get it out of the way. Definitely good, dude. Everybody in that movie portrayed like a mentally ill person, how I imagine they would be. Danny DeVito
Mm-hmm.
was great. Jack Nicholson, Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, it was really cool to see Christopher Lloyd in this because I feel like in my personal life I haven't seen Christopher Lloyd in a lot of things, so
Hmm.
he's kind of just Doc to me. But like the first time I watched this, I was like, that guy's got some range. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, man, he's one of the great actors for sure.
And for sure, Jack Nicholson. Like this is one of the Jack Nicholson performances that got him, between this and like The Shining and maybe Chinatown or some
Chinatown,
other
yeah.
things. But like this is kind of why he is the actor that he is or was. So the next one I watched was Upgrade. This is a rewatch for me too. I just really love that movie. It's just a really good time. It's kind of a simple story. It's got some immediacy to it. It's got some violence. They do some really crazy things with cameras. The action scenes are shot super well. Lee Winnell does a great job, I think, all the time with action scenes and shooting action scenes and showing you what you want to see in an action scene. Another one that I think of with him is Invisible Man from 2018.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But this was just, or 2019 or whatever it was. But that's just a really cool movie, and it holds up to a rewatch. Like I said, it's a simple story, but if you haven't seen Upgrade, it's really good. And you're also gonna, if you don't know who Logan Marshall Green is, you're gonna be like squinting your eyes the whole time and being like, is that Tom Hardy's cousin? We have the one we have in common is coming up next for me. I don't know about you.
Oh, that was my next one as well. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was Past Lives is the one we had in common. We both wanted to see this when it came out, and for whatever reason, I think it didn't come to theaters near us for like a long time. And then by the time
Months.
by the time we were able to watch it, it was streaming on something. I think I rented it maybe. But dude, such a good movie. Such a like.
It really is.
Yeah, the story just captures you from the beginning, and it's a real tearjerker.
And it's an unusual angle to present this kind of story from. Like it's kind of a love story, but it's such a subversion of what you expect out of a love story that I thought it was really effective for that reason. It's like life. It's not tidy, and it's a messy thing. It doesn't put a neat bow on everything at the end, and it makes you think about your own life, your own childhood, and like the different angles that things could have gone if things had gone a little bit of a different way, how different they could have ended up. I mean, the title kind of tells you what you're going to be dealing with here. It's like a big what if kind of story.
Yeah, and everybody had like
but I felt-
intense performances.
I felt so bad for the main two guys for very different reasons, but the two male leads here, I won't say more than that, but you sympathize with both of them for different things.
Yeah, highly recommend that one. And I can't remember the main actress's name, but she was really good in Russian Doll as well. That's the only-
Greta Lee, maybe.
Yeah,
In Russian Doll.
yeah, the Natasha. I can't. Remember.
I forgot that she was on that. Natasha Lyonne. Yeah, I
Natasha
love that
Lyonne,
show. That's a show that does not get talked about enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one's Jawbreaker, which was a 1999 movie. It's very short. It's directed by Darren Stein. I had a really good time with that. I can see somebody thinking that's a stupid movie, and it is, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's just really, it feels very 90s. It's a little bit like, it's very aware of the kind of movie that it is, and it's kind of over the top on purpose. It's kind of like if Mean Girls was a lot meaner and grittier and a lot more swearing. Mean Girls is really tame in comparison to this, but it's kind of that kind of thing. There's like the plastics basically, and something happens, and everything gets out of hand. But it reminded me of other things, but it was just like exactly the movie I wanted it to be in this moment. And the next movie I'm going to talk about is kind of the opposite. So I was glad that at least Jawbreaker was good. And Rose McGowan was so good at this time period. Like if anything Rose McGowan was doing at this time, I love it.
So my next one is actually going to be 4 movies that I watched like back to back. Well, I got sick and I just went on a binge of watching movies for like 3 days straight. But I watched all 4 of the John Wick movies in like 2 days.
Only 12 hours of movie.
I know, and they're all good in their own way for sure, but I mean, when you're sick and you're watching them back to back, they all kind of just blend together. And I remember, I think it was the 4th one, there's like, because it jumps exponentially in runtime for these movies. I think the first one was like an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes. By the time you get to the 4th one, it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes long. And yeah, there's multiple scenes, I swear, in the 4th one where he's killing people for like half an hour straight, man. And there's like, I think they were one of the movies. His kill count is like 120 something people, and they're just coming at him like, I don't know how they don't get him. You know, they just keep coming right up to him instead of shooting him from afar, so he can take down 70 people in a row. But I mean, they're entertaining movies for what they are for sure. And Keanu Reeves is one of those people where like, I don't know, is he a good actor? Is he not? Is he just the same kind of person in everything he plays? But I do like him, so I don't know.
Keanu Reeves is a good actor with limited scope, and this is the kind of thing he excels at the best. And also,
Right.
like, the fact that he put all the effort into
The
learning,
training and
all
yeah.
the stuff with guns and all the moves and everything. So I think it's impressive. I've only watched the first two. It's been a while. I want to do the same thing as you and just plow through all of them. But I do think you run the risk of burning yourself out on this storyline if you watch them all back to back like that, because it looks like for
Right.
you it was the kind of diminishing returns. Like you liked them less and less as they went along. And a lot of people are saying that the fourth one is their favorite, and like that was like the perfection of this thing. And for
I
you watching them back to back, it kind of diminished. So
I mean, they were all
who
good,
knows?
and they were all good. It was just it's a lot to watch in a row. I think, yeah.
Hmm.
But it is cool how they all
Especially
kind
with
of
such
like they all pick up basically where the last one ended almost. So that was kind of neat.
a.
So it is like a story that takes place over just like this week or a few days or something.
The next thing for me was the one I was saying was kind of a man. It's called Parents. I don't think a lot of people talk about this movie. It came out in 1989. It's directed by Bob Balaban, who you'll probably recognize from acting more than directing. He also did My Boyfriend's Back, which is one I might check out as well. I'm not sure. He's been in a handful of like Christopher Guest movies and stuff. Like I think he was in Best in Show. But Bob Balaban directed this, and it's got Randy Quaid in the lead and no one else I recognize. But it's like these parents and their kid, and there's a creepy thing going on here that is very easy to spoil if I say much of anything at all. So I'll leave it to you. It's very short. It's not particularly bad, but it sure isn't particularly good. And I didn't get anything out of it. I thought it wasted the potential to be extremely over the top, campy, low budget, good time. It's kind of that, except for the good time part. It's just not. It just did not work for me on any level, and I can't recommend that at all. The poster for it looks like it's going to be a fun time. I just didn't get what I didn't get what I wanted out of it. So what's your next one?
Hacksaw Ridge was the next one I watched. I thought that was a pretty awesome story of like a true story. Dude won the medal. What was the Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor, without ever killing anybody, just saving people's lives. With Andrew Garfield was really great. Vince Vaughn was really great. Great action scenes, man.
Yeah, I
It's
like
tense.
I like anytime Vince Vaughn pops up and is in a serious role. I think he actually handles
Yeah,
serious roles pretty well most of the time. So
yeah. The
yeah, and it's an interesting take because it's he's not firing any bullets.
Yeah, he's just running around saving people for like
So
I don't remember how long it was. Like it was an overnight or 2 days straight. But he's like pulling people off the cliff after they try to take it and getting shot at the whole time and has a few close calls. They almost get him, but he just saved. I don't know how many people he saved, but he saved a lot of people's lives.
yeah, it's a story. It's a true story worth telling for sure. I
Yeah,
like that one. I'd give that a rewatch as well. My next one is Mad God. How on earth do you talk about this freaking movie, dude? It is disgusting. It's amazing. Like it's immaculately done. Like it feels like a movie that took 30 years to make, and it is. He started working on this like a long time. And the guy that made this is Phil Tippett, who his reputation is much bigger than this movie. Like this was his passion project, but he worked on the practical effects on Star Wars movies, just everything classic that you can think of that had like practical effects and stop motion and stuff in it was Phil Tippett. So this was his ultimate passion project. It almost doesn't even have a narrative structure. It almost has no words. Maybe it doesn't have no words. I don't remember any words.
there's a lot of sounds, but I don't remember if there's any
A
actual
lot of sounds,
dialogue.
but it is just intricate down to the finest detail. It is so well done. And like I said, absolutely revolting sometimes. Like one of
Yeah,
the grossest things I've ever seen with my eyes sometimes. But it's like perfect. So I don't even know how that sounds like it's a 5 out of 5. I don't know how to rate it or anything. I haven't been rating these. I loved it. I can see somebody being like, I love that and I'll never rewatch it. And I get that, but I'll rewatch it.
yeah.
it's
I
it's crazy good and not very long and
I mean, it's probably one of the
yeah.
best stop motion movies that's ever been made. But it is disgusting in parts for sure.
And it's kind of a vibe movie too. It's kind of like I don't know, man, stuff's bad and it's just gonna get it's like maybe it's in the future and things have just gone from bad to worse and there's all these different types of creatures. It's impossible to describe it. It's just one you have to see. The next movie I'm going to talk about is the thing that inspired me to watch this, so we'll get into that in a second. But what's your next movie?
Lake Mungo, which I've heard great things about. Everybody is like hyped up and praised as one of the best like horror movies they've ever
People
seen.
suggested it in our comments.
Yeah, man, and I think maybe I just hyped it up too much because everybody else was hyping it up to me, and I didn't think it was that great. It's not a horror movie, for sure. It's... The whole movie is basically like a documentary style, like 60 Minutes or 2020, where they're just like talking to the family and witnesses of what happened to this girl. And she kind of just shows up in some weird pictures. It's like, I don't remember if it was like some kind of like weird time trial. I also watched this while I was sick, so maybe that was a little factor. But like, I don't know, man. I didn't think it was all that great. Like the little twist at the end was all right, but I think I just had it.
Would you call this found footage for the most part, or is that
no? I wouldn't. No, it's just documentary type.
Yeah, mockumentary, I guess.
Yeah, mockumentary, because it's not like necessarily found footage. It's a lot of just them interviewing her family and other people. I don't know. I think I was let down. It wasn't a scary movie, like whatsoever to me, at least, and that's what I was going into it thinking. Like everybody's saying, this is a great horror movie, and
I've been told it's one of the scariest movies ever. Yeah, so
maybe I need to rewatch it, but I didn't think it was scary at all.
I gotta check it out. I think it's gonna be in my April list for sure.
Yeah.
I would have thought that would be one right up our alley, so it's interesting to hear.
I'll give it another try.
Stopmotion was the next one I watched, and I think you have not seen this yet, right?
No.
It's actually growing on me since I watched it. So when I first watched it, I kind of thought, man, I really like the stop motion parts of this, and I really don't think the movie that they're inside is worth how good they are. So like my initial thought was like, I highly recommend the stop motion animation parts of this. I think they're effective and creepy and unique and great. Really some top-notch stop motion. The story inside of it, I didn't get a whole lot out of, but it's like, I think it was good enough to make this worth watching because the stop motion's so great and the story's not bad. It just felt a little tedious, it felt like it was running a little long, and I don't think the movie was actually long. That's kind of a bad sign to me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't give it a glowing review, but I think people should check it out because it's one of the more unique horror movies that have come out this year. It's a gentle recommendation. I would probably check it out. I think it's on Shudder right now. So
the next one I watched was it's a newer movie that came out on Amazon called Stanicky.
Yeah.
It was all right for like what it was, the comedy. I think John Cena played a funny role that he did really well. I like Andrew Santino. Zac Efron.
I love Andrew Santino.
Yeah, it was a funny movie for what it was. I mean, it was pretty much what I was expecting. It's a mild recommendation. I know it probably didn't do that great, but if it's I think it's a decent comedy that came out this year.
Well, and it's kind of funny because it's the Farley brothers are classics of comedy. Like, so it's, they did Dumb and Dumber, and they did Kingpin, and they did, well, I don't know if this one's as loved, but Shallow Hal. And, they've done a handful of movies together that people mostly like. And then when they split apart, just like the Coen brothers, we just saw the Coen brothers split apart, and I think they have diminishing returns when they split apart. And I think I could see that. I didn't see this, but I could see that being the case here because this brother just recently parted ways with comedy altogether and did Green Book, won an Oscar for it, and then he comes back with this. It's a weird career choice to go from Oscar-winning Green Book to Ricky Stanicky. But I haven't seen it, and I'm gonna check it out because I think Andrew Santino's a funny guy. I think the trailer made it look like it had some funny moments to it. So it sounds like it was not as good as it could have been, though.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely laughed through certain parts. Like I said, John Cena's character was hilarious. Probably the best part of the movie. But yeah, and William H.
Looks
Macy,
like it ran a little long, if I'm remembering correctly.
It might have
I think it's like an hour 45 or something.
Yeah, it's almost like 2 hours long. It definitely could have been a little shorter, probably.
My next one is The Loved Ones, and I've barely ever even heard about this movie, and it's one of my biggest recommendations of this month. I like it more the more I sit with it. It's just exactly what I wanted. I don't even want to say a whole lot. It's a woman who's completely unhinged, a girl who's completely unhinged, and the directions it goes, I don't even want to lead you down the path. But I will say this though, it is extremely not for everybody, and the brutality here is not messing around. Like when you get to the last third or quarter of this movie, it is no holds barred. My jaw is on the floor seeing some of the stuff on here. I'm not saying it's Terrifier 2 all over again or something, but man, movies don't push it to this edge as often as I think they should, and this one really does not hold back, and I loved it. The main female character here is outstanding. I love an unhinged female lead that's just lost all of her freaking marbles, and that's what they did here, boy. Golly. So don't sleep on that one. The Loved Ones, man. I think you should check that out before.
Sounds like something I would like.
What you got next?
The new Netflix release with
Millie Bobby Brown,
Damsel, which there were parts I liked about it. It was super predictable though. Like by the 15 minutes in, I think me and my girlfriend both were like, oh, this is what's gonna happen, and that is pretty much what happened. But like it was okay for what it was. I did like the design of the dragon in the movie.
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, how's the dragon?
I thought the dragon looked really cool. My girlfriend thought it looked didn't like it, but yeah. But
yeah.
It pretty much went how I expected it to go. It was all right,
I mean, it's all right. Like,
it does kind of look like a Netflix movie of the week kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know Millie Bobby Brown is. I guess I won't take a stance on if this is fair or unfair, but she's getting real flack right now for saying that she doesn't even watch movies at all. And she's like, yeah, I can't imagine sitting in front of a movie screen for 2 hours. I don't ever watch them. It's like, that's weird. And then like a bunch of people in the comments of this movie were like, it shows.
Yeah, it's about to say it kind of shows in Stranger Things. That's for sure. She's not the best actress. So
my next one is Inside. I was on kind of a roll right here, so I about equally recommend this. Although this is even more brutal in a way that's so dark that it really is not going to be for everybody. If you're currently pregnant or have any anxiety around like pregnancy in horror movies, not many push it to the edge that this does, and it is extreme. So much so that it's firmly in the French extreme movie camp. It came out in 2007, so a little late for that, but like this brings to mind things like Titane or some of the other like French extreme movements from movies from that time, maybe Martyrs or something like that. So it's extreme. It doesn't hold back, but I think it really like had a lot of emotional impact, and I could not look away from the screen. Like I'm like gripping my seat the whole time I'm watching this movie. It's extremely tense. It's well acted. It's well directed. That's a great movie.
So I don't know if you finished this one, but I know you said you started it. Was the remake of Roadhouse?
I did.
Yeah. The main reason I wanted to watch this is because it takes place in the Florida Keys, and I've been going to Key West since I was like a child. And Jake Gyllenhaal really carries this movie. I mean, pretty hard. Conor McGregor is. There's a couple scenes where he's all right, but I mean, he's not an actor, that's for sure. And the fight scenes in this, and I'm a fan of the original Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Mm-hmm. And there's a neat little nod to that. Like there's a little store in between a bookstore that he goes to called the Double Deuce Diner, which is the name of the original Roadhouse. And in this one, it's just called the Roadhouse. They didn't come up with a name for it.
I did get some laughs at it when she's like, "Yeah, it's just called the Roadhouse," and then she's like, "There's a boat you can stay on near the place," but she's like, "I gotta warn you, the same guy named the boat," and then it just cuts straight to the shot of the boat, and it's called The Boat.
Yeah,
I was like, man, it's not hard to make me laugh. It was more laughs than I expected from it, right? I mean, like, there's more comedy here than I was thinking.
Some of the fight scenes were okay, but it did seem real jerky. Like, you could tell there was maybe some CGI used in it, or like
a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a part where he gets, like, backed into by a truck, and man, does it look not real at all. Like, it seems like they shot it real slow, and then you can tell they sped it up or something.
Yeah, there's a ton of CGI to make these fight scenes work, and I don't know how to explain why it really wasn't bothering me until things like trucks got involved. But like making a punch connect with CGI. Well, the alternative is they pretend to punch each other, and a lot of times you can tell that they're not. So it's kind of like, for me, it's like pick your battles. It didn't bother me that they're making these fight scenes look more realistic with CGI, and it's not 100% effective. I could handle it, and I like the way this guy shoot. This is the same director that did Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
And I like the way he shoots action scenes and stuff. So for the most part, I liked it. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my. I watched The Royal Hotel, which is a movie that both of us, you were actually more interested in watching, and you haven't watched this yet, have you?
No, I haven't. I still need to.
So I don't want to say too much. I think it's worth watching for you especially. Like, I think it's a little more, it felt more up your alley than it did mine. It's a well done movie. And to stray away as far as I can from spoiling it, I'll just say the biggest thing is it just, at the end of it, it felt a little inconsequential and a little bit forgettable. It's about two women who absolutely don't know how to have a good time on a vacation is what it's about, because they sign up for some like work vacation program. If that's a real thing, please cancel that program. No one wants to work a job on vacation. What kind of people want to work a job on their vacation? And it's a terrible job. The one girl that's more into it keeps saying like, come on, I thought you wanted adventure. Why are you wanting to back out now that things are terrible and awful? It's like, is this y'all's idea of what a great adventure is? You're working at a horrible bar in the middle of nowhere. Is it cool because it's Australia? No, it is not.
Well,
so I just kept thinking, like, you guys could just go home. I don't know. What's your next one?
Yeah, this is my last one, was The Accountant with Ben Affleck. This is one I hadn't seen, and man, this is a pretty freaking good movie. He, plays an autistic accountant who, you find out is kind of like this badass, I wouldn't say hitman, but he was like raised by his dad, who was a military officer, with him and his brother, and trains them to fight and all this shit. And he joins the army as well, and you find this out like throughout the movie through flashbacks and stuff. But he's like uncooked the books for all these like powerful drug dealers and dictators and shit like that, I guess, maybe. Like, but then he's also
like political leaders and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he's just got a thing for numbers, but then he's also just this like badass who goes around and like he gets a hit put out on him basically, and this girl, and he kind of gets connected to this girl, and he's got to protect her and kill people and that are trying to kill him, and he just kicks ass throughout the whole movie. It was pretty good.
And then I got my last one, which is Ring, the original Japanese horror movie that spawned the American remake with Naomi Watts and all that. And these didn't come out very far apart. Like Ring was 98, and I think The Ring was 2001 or something. So pretty quickly afterwards. I was surprised by how many similarities there are. There's a lot of similarities. Like most things that you remember from the first movie show up here. The blurred faces on the photos. There's some little things that they mixed up, and I think the American director went crazy with like the creepy video that you actually watch and that curses you or whatever. And this is a little more like simple. Like there's like 4 scenes, and they're creepy in a more realistic. Like it feels like something you'd stumble upon on the dark web, and it like haunts you for weeks because you're like, what was that in the photo? But in the American one, it's like made to be over the top scary. So I thought this was more effective for me, the way that part of it is. But actually, on the whole, I like The Ring, the American one. And I thought, man, if I like that, I'm going to love the Japanese one. Like, they probably did it so much better. And I actually, at the end of the day, I kind of felt like, no, it's about equal. So I want to rewatch the American one now. Haven't seen that so recently, and see how it holds up. But the Ring, for me, was like one of the movies that kind of got me into horror and like genuinely scared the crap out of me as a kid. It came out at the right time. There are scenes on that haunted me forever. I know it's not that scary, but like when you're 12 or whatever, Anyway, that's everything we watched this month. So hopefully you guys like this kind of thing. We're going to try to do this every month. But yeah, we also are going to see Monkey Man later today. So look forward to a Monkey Man review very soon. We appreciate you guys watching. As always, leave a comment below if there's any of these movies that you've seen and want to hear more about them or talk to somebody about them. We try to get to all our comments. And you can also put suggestions down below, and we're going to try to do this every month. So movies that we're not going to do a full review about will get kind of rolled into these month ones. So if you put a suggestion down, there's a good chance us might watch that.
Yeah. So yeah, if you suggest something, we'll try to check it out. Thanks for watching and sticking around. See you guys.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the